Well, your witness statement, and it is the portion that my learned friend and the chair have already read out, your witness statement then goes on essentially to say that immediately when you heard this, you instructed the pilot to fly you back to the jock to ascertain what was happening and ensure that medical personnel were sent. I'd like us to watch the video with respect to that return to the jock.
Ndithanda ukuba sijonge ivideo apho uthi wena ngelo xesha uxela umshayeli ukuba makakuyise phansi uyobona bakwenzeka ntoni uzokwazi ukuthi ubize naba boncedo leze kwelapha.
Chair, our learned friend should learn with respect to put the witness's own words and not use her own words to paraphrase what the witness says. The paragraph doesn't say immediately I instructed the chopper to take me back. He starts off by saying soon thereafter he heard Brigadier Khalid's. Then the next sentence says I instructed the pilot to return me. There's no immediately there.
Chair, if he continues to read the paragraph, it states, immediately when I heard this, I instructed the pilot to fly me back to the jock in order to ascertain what was actually happening on the ground.
Sounds as if all right, anyway, let's move on. Have you given the reading to those responsible for showing us the clip, the section that you want shown?
Chair, in addition to the witness statement, under cross-examination by my learned friend, Advocate Shawsey, the Major General again on the 18th of July this year said that immediately I heard there were bodies down, I went to the jock.
Yayiphinda lento kokubana ngemini abuzwa ngumhlekazi uShozi wayisho lento kokuba ngelo xesha nsiva lento ndaxela udriver uba makanhlise.
What I'd now like us to do is watch the video and see that return.
Ndifuna siyibone ke umfanekiso lo sizokwazi ukubona apho ebuya umva khona.
Major General Mpembe, in light of what the video evidence tells us, you didn't immediately instruct the pilot to return to the jock, did you?
No, Chair. That is not. You can't see that on this video.
Chair, that's precisely what you can see. For 6.5 minutes, Major General Mpembe circles the area and only then returns to the jock. He does not immediately issue an instruction. From the audio, we hear no audio that he instructs the pilot to return to the jock, and the behavior of the helicopter indicates that he did not immediately instruct to move off back to the dock.
Uthi ayikho indawo apho kuvakala khona uba wamcela ngelo xesha ukuba makehle uthi endaweni yoko wathatha ixesha elide ejikelezwa phaya phezulu phambi kokuba iyohlala phansi ichopper.
And Chair, this is not a cheap point. The point is this. The South African Human Rights Commission, based on the evidence that we covered before lunch, the 5 statements in the occurrent book, will submit that Major General Mpembe knew that there were bodies down, that something had happened. That's why he went up in the helicopter in the first place. So it's not a cheap point that he says immediately, and that's not 6.5 minutes. It's to say, if I could just finish,
So you don't
it's
have
to
deal
say
with
that...
suggestions a cheap point, that's what I'm saying. You don't deal with a cheap point. You're explaining the point you're making, that's fine. And this thing, Gudwana isn't suggesting it's a cheap point. He's just, he says that what you state is factually not correct. You're answering him, so carry on with your answer.
Thank you, Chair.
Njengoba ndikuva uphendula.
The point is this, that from the statements and from the occurrence book, Major General Mpembe knew that something had happened, and that's why he went up in the helicopter to get a better view. And let me be clear, the South African Human Rights Commission does not criticize Major General Mpembe for wanting to get a better sense of what was happening. The point is that his statement creates the impression that he discovers there are 2 bodies down and then immediately returns to the jock. He continues to assess the situation for 6.5 minutes from his helicopter because he already knew that something had happened.
Uthi umama uLeru obesazi kakuhle uGeneral Mpembe xa engena kwehelicopter siya phaya phezulu bakho into eyenzekileyo yikho nje afuna ukuya phaya abanangxaki ke nokuya kwakhe phezulu kodwa uthi uthethe ixesha elide phaya phezulu elinge-6.5 minutes ejonga uba kwenzeka ntoni. Uthi ke into ayibekayo kokuba xa esuka phaya esiya phezulu ubesazi ukuba kukho into eyenzekile.
Is it known what the flying time would be from where the chopper was to where they landed if they did go immediately?
Commissioner, if I might interrupt there, if one plays the video forward, one sees the video stop circling and then go to the jock. I can give you an exact time difference. It's about 2 minutes.
Chair, perhaps if we just play the video, which indicates it is about a 2-minute flight from where the chopper was, which is where it starts, it's circling and returning to the jock. So perhaps if we just play the remainder of the video until we see Major General Mpembe alight at the jock.
Uthi xa siyidlala apha ngasekugqibeleni ithatha imizuzu emibini ividiyo le.
There's no reason to reject it. We can accept Advocate Chastelson's timeline and don't have to spend time on that. It does appear that after the radio report that was referred to was heard, the helicopter appears to have circled several times as one sees the kraals coming back at regular intervals. Now, I don't know whether it's possible for a helicopter to come down without circling. That's something that perhaps
Uthi umgcinisihlalo kuyabonakala phaya kumfanekiso.
I take it we can accept what Mr. Chastelson says. Anyway, isn't the time to
Chair,
get the witnesses
the remainder of the video will indicate that the helicopter can just descend. In addition,
Well, let's carry on, as you suggest.
In addition, I'm advised that in any event, the Protea Coin helicopter, because it's a civilian helicopter, cannot fly below a certain level that the SAPS choppers can. So it doesn't descend in circles. As we'll see in the remainder of the video,
You've asked for the
goes
remainder
straight
of the
back.
video to be shown. Let's see it.
Uthi njengoba evile ke le helicopter yakwa Protea Coin ilezi ezisetshenziswa ngabahlali nje uthi ibhabha ngaphezulu kwezi zamapolisa iyakwazi nokuthi xa isihla yehle straight ingajikelezi.
Thank you, Chair. And that is then when Major General Pembe alights, and as we'll recall from seeing the video before, the chopper then takes off again. So, Major General, to return...
Simbona kuGeneral esihla phaya emva koko izawusuka ichopper le.
Major General, to return to my question, when your statement creates the impression that you immediately instructed the pilot to return to the jock and did so, that is incorrect.
Inyaniso kokuba apha usithi khona wamxela ngelo nelo xesha kokuba makehle akuyona inyani ipheleleyo apha.
Chairperson, I still stick to my statement. The chopper went back to the jock because of my instruction.
Same kuloo ntetho mhlekazi yabuyela phantsi kwijoko.
And immediately after I violated, the chopper went back again. And I still state that when I went to the chopper and fly, I did not know at that time that there were people dead.
And it's
not true that I knew at that time that people were dead. And why the chopper made many turns, I hope that the pilot is the one that can answer that question. I did state that I was with the occupants of the pilot. They can testify they can corroborate my evidence. The chopper took me there because of my instruction.
What actually turns on this point? He said immediately, it appears to be a few minutes interval. If you were right, the immediately was inaccurate. If he's right, he gave an instruction, which we can't hear, perhaps because it wasn't near a microphone, and the pilot reacted to it. But is it a point that's going to help us, one way or the other, to make any findings on the matters we called upon to make findings on?
Ubuza umhlekazi okokuba lento yokuba wamxela ngelo nelo xesha isinceda ngantoni ngoba kucacile okokuba wehla lo mshayeli we-helicopter exelele ngugeneral.
Findings, and you can carry on, but I'm a bit puzzled at the moment to see how this point can help us.
Into nje benifuna ukuyazi ukuba isinceda ngantoni leyo nto kodwa ungachubeka.
Chair will make submissions in due course in light of the Major General's testimony.
Sizawuveza ke emva kwexesha ingxelo xa sesibeka ingxelo yethu.
Yes. Major General, I'd like to move on now to the question of radio problems on the 16th.
Masiye kwingxaki ezaba khona ke maqondana ne-radio ngale mini ye-16.
And confirm that your original statement says nothing about there being radio problems, and confirm with you again that your original statement says nothing about trying to contact Khalits on the radio in particular and being unable to do so.
Now, Mr. Ruud, didn't Mr. Madlanga deal with this extensively when he cross-examined the witness?
Yes.
I don't want to stop you if you've got a new point, but I don't want to encourage you to plow over fields that have been plowed over already.
Chair, I hope I've demonstrated in the last day and a half that while I have to introduce a point by identifying it with something that has come previously, I generally do try to move on to a new point. And I have one. It relates to Mr. White.
If there's a new point, then you can make it.
Thank you, Chair. Major General, I'm just trying to orientate you that your original statement is silent on the question of any radio problems or any difficulties in contacting your fellow commanders. And on the audio of the Protea Coin helicopter that we've just heard, there's no audio that we can discern that indicates you attempting to use the radio and having difficulty in doing that. And indeed, at paragraph 51 of your original statement, you state, at all times while I was in the helicopter, which was a period of about 20 minutes or less, I was accessible by radio both to the operational commander, Brigadier Kalitz, and to the JOC. As overall commander, I could only give direction when direction was sought, either from the JOC or from the operational commander. Neither sought direction. So just to orientate you, that's the topic we're dealing with now.
Umkhumbuza ke into azawubuza phezu kwayo kokuba kwingxelo yakhe ugeneral akukho aphakathi wapha nengxaki yonomathotholo akazamanga kuthetha nabani naphaya akho myalelo ayinikezile uthi ke yena ubezawunikeza imiyalelo xa bekukho isidingo esinjengeso.
And what I want to clarify is your testimony around radio difficulties.
Funa ke sithethe ngengxaki owabanazo amaqondana nabo onomathotholo i-radio.
As I understand the evidence so far, and if you can please confirm this or clarify it for me, you had difficulty getting on the radio, getting airtime on the radio because it was in use. And as you indicated in paragraph 51 of your statement, no one sought direction from you, so you didn't need to get on the radio. Is that correct?
Uthi awuzange uthethe nabo ngeredio ngoba kwakungekho umuntu wayefuna imiyalelo ethize wayebuza into ethize kuwe.
Chairperson, I just wanted clarity with the airtime.
Ndifuna
what is meant by airtime?
Ngalento othetha ngayo airtime uchaza ntoni apho?
Major General, what I mean by airtime is that the radio was in use by other people, and there wasn't a gap in the radio communication that you could start using the radio.
Ndichaza ukuba babeyisebenzisa abanye i-radio lena ngaleso sizathu ungakwazi wena ukuba ungenelele uthethe nawo.
Chairperson, mechanically speaking, with the radio that we use on that day, while other people are speaking, you are unable to speak because you have to press and you have to ask permission from the JOC. So if the people are still talking, is not able to talk or maybe to ask permission to talk.
Mandibe ngolo hloba le radio uyinhlobo besisetshenziswa ngaleyo mini kukho afanele ucofe khona xa umamele xa uzawufumana okokuba uthethe ufumana igunya phaya kuJOC.
Chairperson, it's not only myself that says that. There are numerous also other witnesses that spoke about the radio.
Maninzi ke amanye amangqina athetha ngale ngxaki abanayo ngeredio.
Chair, for the sake of progress, may I make this request? Because it appears we repeat things that had been said and we traverse territory that has already been traversed. And the reason that's been given for that by our learned friend is that, well, it's a precursor to a new point. Can the convention be that our learned friend says what her new point is and then do this precursor exercise that she does, because we never get into this new point.
Masenze sisheshe nyani kungacithi ixesha ngokuba silokuphinda sigidagida ndawonye njengoba
Sometimes the
esenza.
cross-examiner doesn't like to reveal the point until the question has been asked and answered. But if it's possible, I take it you will do that in future, Mr. Rubuli. But it's not compulsory, because I can remember there are good reasons why a cross-examiner sometimes conceals the point until it's made. But you've been doing quite a lot of traversing of previous material, so are you now in a position to get to the new point?
Okokuba ufike usheshe ufike kwiphuzu ofuna ukulenza ngaphandle kokuba uthathe ixesha elide.
Chair, perhaps I should seek guidance from you in light of your rulings before lunch, because Mr. White is in the process of preparing a final statement. Given the fact that further supplementary statements and information keeps coming in, he hasn't been able to complete that exercise. The point goes to whether the SAPs anticipated this difficulty and what contingency planning they made, because this happens all the time. This is not unusual in police operations that there are difficulties with radio channel access.
I must say, I thought that was dealt with quite extensively with General Annandale, and he explained problems of expense and so forth.
Chair, it has not been dealt with this witness.
No, that's correct. If you've got something new that you want to put, please go ahead.
Kungaba into entsha afuna ukuyiveza apha kule ngqina ngaliveza ngoba Anandale uye wabuzwa kabanzi ngalento ingxaki ababanayo ngeredio.
Chair, my difficulty is that this is an entirely new point from what was covered with Annandale. The difficulty is this morning's ruling says I must put a short statement together from Mr. White, provide it to the witness and have him comment on it. So if I could have some guidance on how to proceed with this questioning.
Well,
must I do a short statement like the earlier point?
Okay. The problem is this. Where you are putting opinions which Mr. White is going to state in his evidence, we have a statement from him. I know it's a provisional statement. I know why it was provisional. But we've worked out a procedure at the beginning of the Commission in the hope that we shorten proceedings and help everybody to make a contribution. And that was that parties should file statements so that when other parties, witnesses, give evidence, they know what it is they have to answer. Now, I understand the practical difficulties on which the Human Rights Commission and Mr. White have been working. So, but if you have a witness whom we wish to cross-examine on something Mr. White's going to say, it's only fair that the witness should be put in a position to know, with a reasonable notice, what the point is that's going to be put. So, if you're going to put something that Mr. White is going to say, which is not in his written report, then what I suggest you do is you compile a short little document, the opinion he's going to express, which is not in his previous statement, and the reasons shortly, so the witness is able to deal with them. Otherwise, the witness is taken by surprise, doesn't have a chance to think about it, and we get answers which are ill-considered and which may sometimes have to be withdrawn. So it's a mechanism that we devised originally when we said people should file statements in advance to expedite the proceedings. It's really just an elaboration of that. I hope that that is the clarity that you seek.
Kwachazelana ke kule commission okokuba kuye kwahlangana zonke amaqela avumelana okokuba xa kuzawubekwa into ethize kwingqina mali inikezwe obokungqina phambi kokuba.
What you've said so far is the witness's earlier statement say nothing about the radio problems, and that's a criticism which has been made. And it's, but I don't think that that's the point Mr. White wants to make. At least I would be surprised if that's the sole point he wants to make. I take it there's something more substantial he wants to make, a point he wants to make about the radio problems. Am I correct?
Yes, Chair. As I indicated, Mr. White, in light of the evidence that is coming in relating to the SAP's reliance on radio difficulties to explain some of the events of the 16th, Mr. White intends to, in his final statement, place opinions before this Commission relating to how those could have been anticipated, should have been anticipated, because these type of difficulties are routine in these type of operations.
Uthanda ukubeka lento engxelo kaWhite ke uba uWhite kwistatement azosenza ngoku uthi lento yamapolisa ukuba baveze ngawo onke amaxesha uba banengxaki ngemfonomfono yinto engaqala ukwenzeka befanele bayibone bayiza kwenzeka.
Chair, the difficulties
I have is I'm not sure this is the right witness to ask about that. This seems to me to be more a head office problem relating to the way the police work generally and the equipment they have and so on. I'm not sure that this witness is able to deal meaningfully with it. I won't stop you, but I'll just express my concern that he may not really be able to help us. The witness to help us on this initially, I suppose, would have been Major General Annandale. If there are substantial points that Mr. White wants to make, it may be necessary for the General to be recalled to deal with them. But that presumably is a bridge we'll cross even when we get there. But is this the right witness to deal with this kind of thing? You're the cross-examiner. I don't want to hamper you, but I have this problem.
Alinakwazi okokuba likuncede kuloo nto izizinto zase-head office ezingxaki zase-head office xa umhlekazi White azawuveza loo nto kungahle kube nesidingo sokokuba kuphinde kubizwe uAnnandale okunguyena osebenza ngezi zinto by-head office.
Chair, it is appropriately put to the overall commander of the operation. It goes to planning, briefing, the equipment that was requested and the like. But in light of the fact that we need to get a final instruction from Mr. White as to what he wants put, I do think I should move on, but it is likely that the Major General will have to be recalled to deal with that, because I don't know how long Mr. White is going to need to formulate that.
Okay, I understand that.
Final
so
position.
If you then move on to another point, may I suggest you do so after we take tea? So
Mandithi ke uthi uzawuva ngoWhite mhlawumbe kuyawudinga ukuba kubizwe uGeneral emva kwexesha Etiye ngoku.